Hi there, this is Dot there with Rangers of Wrestling meeting their Wrestling Time Post Show. It is Friday, February 3rd, 2023, which means I will be reviewing both Friday Night Smackdown and AEW Rampage. Now, normally when I start this review, I like to start with Rampage first and then talk about Smackdown, but I think we really need to talk about Smackdown first. So, SmackDown. Tonight's SmackDown was the fallout from Elimination Chamber, and holy smokes, like what a finish to tonight's SmackDown. So, normally when I do the show review, I go in order, but I'm going to talk about the ending because it's wow, what happened in the end of SmackDown was just amazing storytelling. So, Roman Reigns comes out and he starts, his promo with the same shtick, asking Greenville, South Carolina to acknowledge it. Royal Rumble, you meant? Yeah, Royal Rumble fallout of tonight's SmackDown. What did I say? My bad. And so right away, the crowd starts chanting for Sami, Sami. And Roman starts asking the crowd who they want to talk about, but he says it's obvious. He wanted to talk about Cody Rhodes since Cody won the Rumble and deserves his attention, but the fans reduced Reigns to talking about the past. Now, Roman goes on to say that there are two sides to every story and that we're going to hear his. And they got to go back to War Games. If you guys remember, and even Roman Reigns brings this up, you guys remember before War Games, Reigns looked into Sami Zayn's eyes and he said he saw everything he needed to see. And he finally says what he saw in Sami Zayn's eyes. He says he saw greed. He says he saw he sees what everybody he interacts with. He starts talking about how he gave Sami Zayn the opportunity of a lifetime and that Sami Zayn used him and the Island of Relevancy. So before Reigns can go any further, Sami Zayn attacks him from behind. And Reigns asks for a steel chair. And Sami Zayn ends up spearing Roman Reigns. How crazy was that? And Sami Zayn was about to attack Roman with the steel chair, but Roman Reigns moves out of the way. And Sami starts saying how Roman is wrong about him, that he never wanted anything from him, but now he wants something from him. He's coming for Roman in the undisputed WWE Universal title. Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa attack Sami Zayn. Solo hits Sami with the Samoan spike. Now Roman Reigns saves Sami Zayn from, okay, you guys know how like they have a history of putting chairs around people's necks and then doing a hip attack. So Roman Reigns saves Sami Zayn from that. And the crowd starts chanting, "We want Jay." So it's going to be Roman versus Sami at the Elimination Chamber for the title. Yes, it is. So Roman tells Sami that he broke up the bloodline, and because of him, his right hand man, Jay Uso, is not there. And Roman says that he's gonna destroy Sami Zayn in front of his family. Now, the Elimination Chamber is taking place in Montreal, which is Sami Zayn's hometown. Now, I know a lot of people seem to be split between Cody Rhodes headlining WrestleMania, and some people think that Sami Zayn should get the match with Roman at WrestleMania. But you have to remember, from day one, the plan was to do Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos for those tag titles at WrestleMania. And how you get there, I think you're gonna have Jey Uso betray Sami Zayn, probably at the Elimination Chamber, and then you have Kevin Owens come and save Sami Zayn from getting beat down. That's how I think they're gonna build towards that tag match. But this is an amazing storytelling. I absolutely love this, and oh my god, like it is gonna go down. I honestly think Sami Zayn is going to lose and probably get beat down afterwards. But just the sheer story that they're telling, this is Sami Zayn's moment in his hometown. His family's gonna be there. His wife is gonna probably be there. Oh my god. And the match is probably going to be good, but the story that they're going to tell you, he's probably going to lose, but Roman is probably going to, beat him to oblivion. He's probably going to get beat up, but at the end of the day, him and KO are going to reunite, and they're going to take those tag belts off the Usos at WrestleMania. But what do you guys think? Do you guys want that tag match? Do you guys want KO and Sami Zayn versus the Usos, or would you rather have Roman versus Sami for the WWE Undisputed title? That's going to be a fantastic moment with Sami and Owens. I can't wait. Yeah, same here. I cannot wait. And if they don't reunite at the Elimination Chamber, I think they'll reunite with the SmackDown after the Elimination Chamber. But I honestly think it's gonna go down. Sami Zayn's gonna get his moment, and he's gonna be so over. Imagine the entire crowd is gonna be chanting for Sami, Sami, and even though he's going to lose and get a beatdown, he's still gonna be over because it's all about the story that they're telling. They're obviously gonna reunite Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and I cannot wait for that to happen. But this was a great finish to SmackDown. Honestly, this was probably my favorite part of Friday Night SmackDown. But what did you guys think of this whole segment? Like, I thought it was fantastic. Seriously, I thought it was. Okay, so to kick off SmackDown, you have the Bloodline arrive, but Jay is nowhere in sight. They don't know where he is. So the opening contest is a Contender tournament finals. It is Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus Imperium. Now this was a good match. I thought it was a good match. Ricochet and Braun Strowman win this, but I'm not surprised because I honestly think that it didn't matter who ever won this is obviously going to lose to the Usos next week on SmackDown. I don't think the random team of Ricochet and Braun Strowman are going to defeat the Usos for those SmackDown tag titles. That's for sure. Okay. So we get a Charlotte backstage interview, and she's basically talking about how she doesn't want to underestimate Sonya, and to face Rhea is going to be awesome and epic. And then Sonya shows up and says she's going to beat Charlotte. Honestly, I was not a huge fan of this because this led into their match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And honestly, I'm over the Charlotte-Sonya feud. I don't know why we had to see this a third time, but I was not a big fan of this match. Like I said, this leads into the match. Charlotte ends up winning that match by submission after she did the figure 4 to the figure 8 to Sonya. They booked the tournament just for Strowman and Ricochet to lose. Yeah, exactly, because the Usos are not losing any of those titles until WrestleMania. Because I think that if they lose the SmackDown tag titles, it takes away from that moment at WrestleMania. We get the first of two Bloodline backstage segments. In this segment, Roman's asking Jimmy where Jay is and if he's talked to him. Jimmy says that he has not heard from Jay. He doesn't know where Jay is. Roman thinks it's disrespectful that Jay hasn't communicated with them. And he presses again to Jimmy where Jay is. And he orders Solo Sikoa and Jimmy to find their brother. So Jay Uso has gone MIA. And it's interesting that he was nowhere to be found tonight on SmackDown. And they have a tag team title match next week against Braun Strowman and Ricochet. I honestly think Jay Uso's probably isn't going to show up. And using the free rule, Solo Sikoa is probably going to insert himself into that match. And they're probably going to do what they've been doing. Like what the Judgment Day and Finn Balor couldn't continue, how Dominic inserted himself in that match after Adam Pearce approved, or how when Jay Uso got injured, Jimmy Uso got injured, or could no longer continue, Sami Zayn inserted himself in that match too. So I think that's the route they're going to go here. They're going to probably, Solo Sikoa's probably going to insert himself in that match if Jay Uso's nowhere to be found. So we get the Brawling Brutes in the form of Rich Holland and Butch versus the Viking Raiders. Honestly, I like this match, but I have to say, some of the moments that I kind of cringed in here is when Rich Holland picked up Eric and he threw him. Like, Rich Holland still kind of, like, gives me nerves when he picks up big men because, like, remember, he broke, because of that botched move that he did on Big E. Big E ended up with a broken neck. So I'm still a little hesitant about him doing moves like that, but the Viking Raiders won this. Sorry about that. It's my dog back there. And honestly, I'm really happy the Viking Raiders won this. They need to win. I feel like the Viking Raiders, out of all the tag teams, well, besides Angel and Garth, besides Angel and Humberto Carrillo, get overlooked a lot. Like, why they're not champions? Why have they been not challenged for the titles? It's beyond me. But I honestly think that At this point, it really doesn't matter because whatever team faces the Usos is not going to win. So they're probably waiting until they take those tag titles off the Usos to probably give more opportunities to these tag teams. Because there's no reason why the Viking Raiders should not have challenged for those tag titles. There's no reason why they shouldn't at this point. So afterwards, Sheamus and Drew McIntyre come out and attack the Viking Raiders. Because if you guys remember, the Viking Raiders are the reasons why Sheamus and Drew McIntyre got replaced in that tag team tournament match. We get a quick Bray Wyatt segment, and he's sitting in a chair, in a rocking chair, and then Uncle Howdy appears. He puts his arm on Bray's shoulders, and he faces the camera. So it seems like maybe we might be getting closer and closer to figure out what's going on with Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy. At this point, I feel like we should probably go towards a reveal. We definitely probably will get a reveal before WrestleMania for Uncle Howdy. I don't think they can drag that out that far. But who knows? But what did you guys think of the segment with Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy? We get the Chamber Qualifier. It is Natalya versus Shotzi versus Zelina versus Shayna Baszler. And Natty immediately went after Shayna Baszler. Of course she did, because Shayna broke her nose. And now this match was all right. I feel like this was Zelina's moment to win this match. I was actually kind of rooting for her to win. But instead, she taps out to the sharpshooter, which Natty put her in. And so Natalya wins. I just don't care anything about Bray. It's just not doing it for me. I don't blame you for not caring. I feel like they took too long. I know, I get it's long-term storytelling, but there's a process to it. But you got to pull the trigger at one point. So I get why you don't care anymore. Now, I'm not surprised Natalya won this. It is in Montreal, Canada, and Natalya is Canadian. They probably want to give her a moment in her home country, but I don't think she's going to win. I'd be surprised if she does win, but I don't think she is. Again, I apologize to my dog. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that, you guys. Shayna should have won. I would have booked her to win over Natalya. Yeah, exactly. So if since Zelina did not win, my second choice would have been Shayna Baszler. Commentary even talked about how Shayna Baszler dominated the last Elimination Chamber match she was in. So the only thing is, I'm glad Shayna Baszler wasn't pinned or made to tap out in this match. But yeah, I'm not too happy Natalya won this, because it's kind of like, okay, like you're putting Natty, but again, it's because she's Canadian and the Elimination Chambers in Canada, so they definitely want to give her a moment. So that technically was the main event, the main match. Because after this, we get the Bloodline segment, and Roman Reigns tells Jimmy and Solo that they were doing so good and they have no problems, no hiccups. Jimmy and Solo say that they were unsuccessful getting a hold of Jay. Roman tells him that he loves them and he needs them because they need to be stronger than they were before. Roman orders Jimmy and Solo to go on the bus and eat while he goes out to the ring and handle business. Now, I thought for a second that something was going to happen to Jimmy and Solo on that bus while Roman was out in the ring, but I was wrong. Nothing happened to Solo and to Jimmy. But I will say this, it's if you guys noted, Roman's shirt was actually quite interesting. Let me see. So look at Roman's shirt here. This shirt is very telling because it's just him and Paul Heyman, and there are no WWE titles in place. And if you look at the previous Bloodline shirts, you see Paul Heyman, you see the Usos, you see the titles, but in this shirt, you don't see any of that besides Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns. And I think that's very telling. Very telling indeed. I think the Bloodline's probably going to implode at WrestleMania. I don't think the Bloodline is walking out with all their titles. The Usos are definitely losing. But whether Roman loses or wins, I think the Bloodline is going to definitely implode. I don't think it's going to go beyond WrestleMania. But Overall, this was a decent SmackDown. I really love the Bloodline stuff. That Roman Reigns promo, which I talked about at the beginning, was actually close to show. A 7 out of 8. Decent show. Yeah, it definitely was a decent show. But I was not a huge fan of the Charlotte versus Sonya match. The Brawling Brutes versus the Viking Raiders was good. The tournament final match, Braun, Strowman, and Ricochet versus Imperium, was pretty decent. So overall, I give this an 8 out of 10. 7 out of 10, I meant. Oh, really? 7 out of 10, yeah. Definitely a 7 out of 10. Decent SmackDown, I will say that. The Bloodline stuff saved this SmackDown from being completely lackluster, in my opinion, if you ask me. And if it wasn't for that Bloodline stuff, the SmackDown would not be as strong as it would have been. But with that being said, that concludes the SmackDown review. So now let's talk about AEW Rampage, which kicked off with the AEW World Trios Championship match. It was the Elite versus All Ego Ethan Page, Matt Hardy, and Isiah Kassidy. But before I go any further, does anybody know what happened to Mark Quinn? I haven't seen Mark Quinn. Is he out with an injury or something? Is he like taking time off? Because I have not seen Mark Quinn. So this is actually a really good match. I actually really like this match. I felt there was a story being told here with Ethan Page, Matt Hardy, and Isiah Kassidy. Obviously, they're under contract with Ethan Page. So, like I said last time or a while back, I don't know when I said this, but I know I said it. The story that what this is telling, it's going to end probably at Revolution. I feel like Matt Hardy, I think he's taking time off. Maybe because I haven't heard anything about him being injured. I think it's going to end with Matt Hardy challenging Ethan Page for the freedom of him and the private party. So, but yeah, no surprise that the Elite won, and they're going to defend their their trios titles against AR Fox and Top Flight on Dynamite, which should be an amazing match. But this is a really good match to kick off Rampage. The Elite won after they hit the One Wing Angel and the BT trigger to Isiah Kassidy. We get a quick Ricky Starks backstage interview. He says he wasn't planning to match, first of all, because him and Lexi Nair were matching. He's basically ends this promo by saying he's going to beat Jericho again. He's going to get through the Guevara Garcia gauntlet and beat Chris Jericho. So, yeah, wait to see on Dynamite what happens with that. We get Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett promo. And they're basically talking about how, Paul Walter Hauser and the Golden Globe that they stole from him. I was actually at that Rampage taping. Props to Paul Walter Hauser for taking that guitar shot. Obviously, that's not the real Golden Globe, but they're talking about how the Screen Actors Guild distorted Sanjay's Golden Globe last week, and that they embarrassed Best Friends and Danhausen and proved that they can be matched in the ring. So Jeff Jarrett goes on to say that Mr. Paul Walter Hauser is wishing that he probably never stepped foot in that Kia Forum. And he's also saying that he wished that Paul Walter Hauser is probably wishing he never went onto the Late Show with James Gordon. So like I said, I was there at that Rampage, and I gotta give him props for taking that guitar shot. So then it cuts to like the Best Friends and Danhausen, and Danhausen is like so hilarious. He got hit in the head with the Grammy, he says, but it was Chuck Taylor corrects him and says it was a Golden Globe. And he starts talking about how he was decimating Satan Singh until he was smashed in the head with the Golden Globe, and that they will be cursed if it happens again. I don't care about any of this. They are fighting over a Golden Globe, a fake Golden Globe on top of that. Paul Walter Hauser is awesome on Cobra Kai. I've actually never watched Cobra Kai. I have heard of Cobra Kai. I know the bad guy last time was on there. He was invited by Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, on there. So you get we get Brian Pillman Jr. versus Swerve Strickland. And honestly, I feel bad for Brian Pillman Jr. I feel like he hasn't done much since they feuded with Tony Nese and Josh Woods, and they lost their name to Varsity Athletes. Paul Walter Hauser was good in Cruella. I saw Cruella. What role did he play? I don't know what happened to Gift Garrison, but ever since they took Julia Hart, I feel like the team hasn't been the same. But he ends up losing this match because Parker Boudreaux cheap shotted him while the ref was distracted, and then Swerve Strickland hit a Death Valley driver on the ring apron, which he followed by a stomp. So after the match, there was going to be a post-match assault. Dustin Rhodes comes out to save him with an equalizer. So I feel like maybe we might get a tag team match here. Maybe Brian Pillman Jr. and Dustin Rhodes versus Swerve Strickland and Parker Boudreaux, probably. So, but what did you guys think of that? We get Toni Storm and Saraya versus the Renegade twins. And honestly, the Renegade twins, I honestly like the Renegade twins. They've been getting better with each match that they've had. He played Horace, who is Jasper's brother. Okay, you guys, I don't watch Cobra Kai here, so if you're going to describe to me, you gotta be more specific here. So, Toni Storm and Saraya have turned heel a while back. And so Toni Storm distracted the rest so that Saraya can cheap shot Robin Renegade with knee strikes. And Toni Storm and Saraya end up winning this. And one of the things that I like that they did was at the end of the match, they take spray cans and they spray paint an L on the Renegade twins. This is very reminiscent of the NWO, which makes sense because Toni Storm and Saraya are the outsiders here. Is this character in Cruella? Okay, I gotta remember that. I gotta rewatch Cruella now because I saw Cruella and I don't recall seeing him. So I like where this is going with Toni Storm and Saraya. It also kind of like reminds me of Trey Miguel in Impact Wrestling, how he's spray painting his opponents as well. He even spray painted the X Division title. If you guys don't watch Impact Wrestling, you guys should check out Impact Wrestling. So our main event was Rush versus Christopher Daniels. And this was a good match. Oh, sorry about that, guys. It was just a mid show, but Saraya didn't have to take too many bumps. Yeah, of course she's not. I don't think she's able to take as many bumps right now. I think they're still slowly doing the one match a month thing. So I like Rush versus Christopher Daniels. Preston Mans, Bello Peligroso, as he's called, hit Christopher Daniels with the water cash on the outside. That water cash was given to Rush by MJF on Dynamite. Christopher Daniels hitting the Blue Thunder Bomb to Rush in the ring. Vance played a factor in this match. He put Rush's foot on the rope when Christopher Daniels was pinning him. But in the end, Rush won this when he hit the belly-to-belly suplex in the corner to Daniels, and then he followed up with the bull's horn to Christopher Daniels in the corner. So Rush won this, probably sending Bryan Danielson a message for their match on Dynamite. Overall, it was a good Rampage, but I thought it was your run-of-the-mill Rampage. I really like the opener match, I like the closer, and I like Toni Storm and Saraya versus the Renegade twins. Brian Pillman Jr. versus Swerve Strickland was good too. But I just felt like it was a decent Rampage. So I have to give it a 7 out of 10. You're giving it a 7 out of 10? Okay. And I liked SmackDown a bit better this week than I did Rampage, but only because of the storyline between the Bloodline. If it wasn't for that Bloodline storyline, that probably would have been just an average SmackDown. But with that being said, you guys, thank you guys so much for watching and for the continuous support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And I hope to see you guys live Monday after Raw. Bye.